You made Rita get up. He's a gentleman.
I'd like to welcome you to the Oklahoma City May 19th, 2011 Board of Adjustment meeting, and I would ask you if you've got any kind of electronic device, would you please turn it to silent or turn it off? And with that, we need to approve the minutes for May the 5th, and we don't have enough people here to do that, so we need a motion to continue that.
So moved.
Second?
Motion and a second to continue. And it is continued.
It's good.
Do we have any continuances?
We have one continuance today. Item number 2, case number 13410, request a continuance to June 2nd.
Do we have any additional from the audience on continuances?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, my name is Kelly Work, and with respect to item number 5, I don't represent the applicant. I represent a adjoining property owner, and but we have an agreement. John Aspel is here on behalf of the applicant, Crossland Construction, and we would ask the board to continue item number 5 for 1 month, and we're going to continue our discussions and see if we can resolve the issues between us in that time, and Mr. Aspel has indicated that the applicant is agreeable with that.
So is June the 2nd?
Well, we're asking for the next meeting, the one following, which I believe is June 16th.
Okay. So to be June the 16th?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I guess what we need to do is to continue number 2 first, have a motion and on that one, and then we'll do the
Move number 2 to June 2nd.
second. All those in favor? That one's continued. Now we need to continue number 5.
Would move to continue.
Go ahead.
Would move to continue that case till June the 16th.
Okay.
Second. All those in favor?
And it is continued. Thank you, Mr. Work. Okay, is the first item on the agenda?
Item number 1, case number 13402, request of Hideaway 2, Inc. for a variance to permit the installation of an attached sign extending above the height of the building located at 901 North Broadway Avenue.
Members of the board, my name is Dennis Fox. Rand Elliott and I are here on behalf of the applicant. And the pictures I'm handing out, Cindy has on disc, so she'll put them on the board for you. This is an application where we're asking that we be allowed to go 11 feet taller than the building. And as your staff report indicates, the code only allows you to go 6 feet, but the code is a code that is citywide. We're in a special district, we're in an automobile alley. The picture that you see right now on the screen with the old Plymouth sign shows you the framework upon which we want to put our sign, and that's 11 feet above the building. This has gone to the Downtown Design Review. They've approved it. The Automobile Alley Association has approved it, and as we look at it, what we're trying to do is keep the historical feel in Automobile Alley, and the sign that you see will accomplish that. Rand Elliott has put time and effort into making sure that it be placed at the right location for this building, but also whenever the owners that have buildings along Automobile Alley look at these different signs, they take each sign, they look at the history, and they try to make sure that what's being asked for matches up with not only an historical perspective, but also provides for what is going to happen going forward. The car dealership obviously has not been there for a long time. They're excited about Hideaway Pizza coming in. They believe this is an appropriate location. If you look at the sign in relation to the overhang, we submit to you that this is appropriate at this site. There might be other locations in Oklahoma City where it wouldn't be appropriate, but that's why we have a Board of Adjustment to look at unique situations. And I think the district's unique, the building's unique, and when Rand went back and was able to find the historical nature of the signs, and Cindy, you might just flip through those real quick, it gives you a feeling of what was there in the past, and this framework is the framework that provided for that 11-foot. So we're just asking that we be able to put a sign up where it was before, and we're not asking for any additional size or anything else. Questions?
Well, the question I had before was what is unique about this situation? You know, are we establishing a new pattern for the area or something like that? I mean, what is it that says that 11 feet's the right height for this deal? You know, because we have to do, you know, I mean, you know, we have to answer all 4 of the
Sure you do.
standards and stuff, and you know, so if it could be at 10 feet or 8 feet, or I mean, you know, it has something to do with visibility. If you're saying that the picture is historical here, and this shows a representation of what was on this building before, that's your argument, then is that your argument?
That's one argument.
Okay.
I think there's a couple more that I'd like to talk to you about, and then I want Rand to talk to you about this building and why the scale works at this height in regard to what's being proposed for the new use. But I think you have to take not only the district into consideration, this being a historical district, but I think you also have to take the historical perspective, and that's what the pictures provide. And then when you take those 2 considerations, then you have a filtering system whereby in this area, we think that when you look at what was there before, what we propose, the fact the Downtown Design Review has approved it, and the fact that what we're going to put up there comports with the building and the scale, and I want Rand to talk about that, we do think it's unique. Okay. So, Rand?
My name is Rand Elliott. I'm here representing the Automobile Alley District and the design committee, if you will, about that. What's been very interesting since Automobile Alley came into being in 1995 after the Alfred P. Murrah bombing, we have done lots of historic research. It is a National Register Historic District, and so we are really focused on maintaining the quality and the experience, including those things that have historic reference for the neighborhood. And so we have developed, Automobile Alley has developed a sign grant fund, actually called the Neon Sign Grant Fund, and that is that the neighborhood allows or provides $1,000 encouragement for businesses that would come in and do neon signs on Broadway, and we've had tremendous success with that to encourage doing interesting signs. If you don't know this, Automobile Alley was the first district focused on automobiles in Oklahoma City. The first automobile showroom was the Buick Building, which is at 4th and Broadway from 1911. And there have been some 57 automobile showrooms and businesses, if you will, up and down Broadway. So we're really here as an organization to encourage that. When Hideaway first came to us, the first thing that we did was historic research on this to try to find elements that would give us a sense of history of this particular building, how signage was done, what the personality of it was, and so forth. And when we find historic documents like this, we're always there encouraging similar kinds of things because it has a certain drama and a real connection to the purpose of the neighborhood itself. So that's the background. Now, if there's a specific question that I haven't answered, I'm happy to hear that again and perhaps be more specific.
I think the well, you have to play these together in these unique circumstances like that. The one that I had been concerned with before was why 11 feet?
Right.
You know, because we have to deal with the minimum necessary to alleviate whatever you feel like your hardship is.
Right.
You know, what is the hardship? You know, so you have to, first you have to identify what's the hardship, and then you got to say, is this the appropriate height of the sign? You know? Because the next person, if another person comes in, they may make another argument as to why theirs needs to be 16 feet or 20 feet or whatever the deal is.
The intent certainly is to do a sign that's appropriate, and by having this historic information available to us, we knew that there was a sign of this size and scale in that location, and so we felt like it was appropriate, knowing that it had been there before historically, that it would be appropriate for it to be there again, and it restores a certain ambiance in the neighborhood that was there, was lost, and we're hoping to put it back.
Okay. Do you foresee other signs like this in the area possibly?
Yes.
They're encouraging this through their...
Each project is done on an individual basis. For example, if we had not found historic images of this building, then we are likely not to be here arguing this particular point. But each one of the projects that becomes unique to the neighborhood, we try to do the historic research and to connect that to the project. So it's a project-by-project basis.
Okay.
I've driven that stretch of Broadway, and I don't see any other signs that approach the height of the variance that you're requesting. There are other signs that are of a similar profile, but they all appear to be scaled, you know, within conformance to the standard as written right now. And I can imagine that if we granted this variance, you know, you open the door for everything new, and all the new development along there is probably going to be in line with, you know.
Well, I would submit to you, you're not opening the door for anything, because we have the filtering process where not only do you have to deal with the automobile alley group that first looks at it and makes a decision, you got to go to the downtown design review. If we look at this example as shown here, it's above the overhang, which is consistent with what was there historically. And I submit to you, just like Rand said, if we come to you and we don't have evidence that what we're trying to do is consistent with a historical pattern, then you probably would say doesn't meet the conditions, therefore denied. With regard to this case, we do think it's unique because it's in a unique area. It's consistent with what the area desires. It's consistent with what was on the building for years and years. It doesn't cause any kind of traffic or visual concerns. And so we would like to be able to put it where historically the signs have been.
Is it strictly note for the height of it, or we? Yeah. I'm not a marketing specialist, but it looks like to me that you're trying to market the Hideaway, not pizza. The pizza's down real low, and the Hideaway's. Is it strictly from a visual standpoint, or I'm having a hard time figuring out what the hardship is. I think that's what Rod's trying to figure out. I'm not sure what the hardship is.
Well, I think the hardship is we would not be able to comport with the historical nature of what was there before from a siting standpoint. And if you all will think about it, how many times have you seen a scenario where an applicant came to you on an application for a variance? Keep in mind, there's a requirement that we be 9 feet above the sidewalk, and all we're asking for is that instead of the limitation about 6 feet, that we be able to go 11 feet. So from a historical standpoint, I would be surprised if you all have seen a case like this before. And that probably answers the question that Mr. Austin asked, which is a good one, and that is, are we going to see a flood of these coming in? No. I don't think you're going to see a scenario where the people that have buildings on Automobile Alley are going to be coming before you unless they can show from a historical standpoint that they're trying to be in character with what the past had but proceed with the future. Now, Mr. Allen, you know as well as I do, we could have filed a SPUD, gone through the whole planning commission and council process, but from our standpoint, we thought, well, based on the filtering, based on the historical nature, based on the pictures that Rand found, that this was the appropriate body to grant relief. Now,
I think I buy into the idea that the uniqueness of this is that there's history behind it. It's not just somebody walking in the door and saying, I want to have a sign way up in the air. You know, I mean, it's you know, if we're rebuilding historical areas in Oklahoma City, we're in essence, and we've got current codes that don't reflect what that history is.
That's true.
Then I think we're, you know, I see that as, I didn't really have a problem with the sign the way it was necessarily as much as the argument as to why it should be somewhere in this kind of a height level as opposed to the other. And if the evidence being presented here was that it's in a similar height as what's been there before, then I can see that they're trying to replicate the historical nature of the area. So
it's the exact height.
yeah.
One thing I would mention too, if this concept had come to us that was twice this high, because we have historic photographs, there would be no precedent for that. It would be impossible to support that kind of an idea, but we have a document that shows historically that it was like this, and so it seems appropriate to do that. It wouldn't be appropriate for it to be bigger than this, for example. That would be a hard sell, I think, an impossible one that would be inappropriate for Automobile Alley. We think because there's evidence that this existed before, that it is appropriate, and we're excited about it. As a part of this neighborhood, we think it's absolutely appropriate for this particular location.
Okay.
Could you endorse this sign height for some of the other buildings that have different roof elevations? Because some of the other buildings in that block have higher roof elevations.
I'm sorry, is your question, would we encourage...
I mean, would you endorse a variance request of 11 foot above of a roof line of a building that had a higher...
I think that you would have to have some understanding of what was there historically, because all of these buildings are on the National Register of Historic Places. What documents support what was there before? And we have hundreds of photographs of buildings up and down Automobile Alley. Some show small signs, some show signs like this. And so we're looking for references that tell us a little bit about how it was treated before. Your general description would be if it was any building that had no precedent, and we had no historic data supporting us, a sign 11 feet higher than the roof line might not be acceptable in another location or in another application. It's not about doing it just for the sake of doing it. It's about it having a certain precedent and it fitting into the process.
And I could just see that the scale of this sign, and I don't have any problem with, you know, with the sign if it could be scaled down and maybe be a little more appropriate or a little closer to being within the guidelines of the statute. But I can see that at some point, you know, it just becomes a contest, you know, for the people who locate in that area, you know, to create more visibility for the...
I can promise you there would be no contest. The group and the board is very active in this neighborhood. It includes some very important community leaders, and we are very focused on trying to make sure that the things that are done there are appropriate and very sensitive to all the things that are going on. It's a great neighborhood. We believe this is a good choice and an opportunity, and again, we're excited about this. For something that would be not so good, we wouldn't be here with you today. There would be other discussions.
But the basis for turning down somebody else that had a similar request would be, you know, I mean, and that would be a concern, is that the precedent's been set. You know, you're asking for a fair amount more than the standard allows.
We're asking for 5 feet, and that's why we felt it was important to show you the pictures that show that we're going to put it at the exact height that was there before. But your point's well taken, and I think the answer is if somebody didn't have that historical data and couldn't show that they were trying to be in conformance with what was there before, they probably wouldn't get past the first review, probably wouldn't get past downtown design even to get to you all.
So having had a sign of that size and profile before on the particular building in question would make a difference.
I'd like to make a motion in favor of the application based on the fact that there's historical evidence been presented with respect to the what's been on the building before, based on the approval by the Downtown Design Review Committee and Automobile Alley Association.
I'll second. And a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And this avoids the Planning Commission, Mr. Allen.
Item number 3, case number 13413, request of the City of Oklahoma City for a variance to permit a building with exposed metal finish located at 8500 South Air Depot Boulevard, Building 3.
Is the applicant here?
JJ, you're up.
I guess we need to put that to the heel and...
No.
No, I'm not sure that anyone's going to show up for that, but basically it's one of these roll-off containers, and they use several of them out at the gun range and the Oklahoma City Police bomb range. Part of the property, it's a whole quarter section, and the part of the property is zoned AA, which it permits the type of building, the metal siding. The rest of the property is happens to be zoned R1, which won't permit the metal. This particular building is located far interior to the site, and it would be used out on the bomb range for storage of materials needed to operate the range.
Are you setting this on a slab, or you just set it out there?
It will have to sit on whatever is required for the building permit. If it's a certain size, it will have to be on a
Do you have
foundation.
service in it and everything, or
I don't think so. I think it's just strictly for
open the
storage.
door and go in there and
Light if
store
used.
something, huh?
I move to deny.
I move to approve. Second.
We got a motion and a second to approve item 3. All those in favor?
They just wrote your name down over there. Oh, you wrote my name down?
Item number 4, case number 13414, request of First Perimeter Center for a variance to permit carports encroaching the front, side, and rear setback located at 4101 Perimeter Center Drive.
Hello, Jason with Terry Building Company. I'm the contractor.
State your name and address, please.
Company address
Uh-huh.
or the address of the property?
Doesn't make any difference. Just
Terry
your
Building
address.
Company,
Okay.
7621 South Shields Boulevard.
Okay.
What we're basically asking for, the parking lot limitations are on the property line on all 4 sides of this 4101 building. Sheila Richardson is here. She's representing the Perimeter Center. Basically, we feel there's no other place on the property to place the carports to allow them what they need. The east side of the building is what they consider the front side of the building, which is where their customer parking is. The west side is their tenant parking, and that's who the covered parking is being proposed there for, is their tenants, not for customer parking. And we have kind of a odd condition. You've got Perimeter Center Drive that runs north and south, and you've got Perimeter Center Place that runs east and west. So anywhere we go on this property, we're going to have the same issues with property lines.
The Perimeter Technology owns all that property to the west there.
That's correct.
And what is that in between there? What's that space in between there?
Nothing. I've actually got some Google Earth aerial views here if you'd like to look at them. As you can,
I mean, that's not a access.
in between the two, no.
Yeah.
They've got that Perimeter Center Place, that actually leads right into Perimeter Technology.
Yeah, I know where that gate is going in there, but
Yeah.
but this, and they don't object to what you're doing here, Perimeter Technology?
We haven't heard anything from them. I believe it doesn't
They would have got a
acknowledge
notice.
lease some of the space from you, so they kind of work hand in hand together because you have Perimeter Technology to the west, but yet
Right.
they lease part of the building in 4100 from
Right.
Perimeter Center.
Right. I think it's a pretty unique.
That's not a
it's
road
quite a
easement
unique situation.
to the west there?
Huh?
It may be an unused street right-of-way. That's what it appears to be.
Like an alley or something? It doesn't look big enough for a street right away.
Has it been, you think it's been dedicated? It's not dedicated by any means, is it? I guess the question, does that still belong to Perimeter Center or to, those owners? That one strip, that narrow strip of land separating the two properties?
Yes, they actually set their fence line for Perimeter Technology, which is the property owner to the
Right.
west. They actually set their fence line almost 20 feet from,
Oh, it's set it back.
Oh, okay.
So that the property that's indicated there with a PUD 5 has access someplace else to the west? Okay.
would you like to see this aerial view?
Yeah. I'll pass it down here.
Basically right here is where
I go by there all the time. I
Yeah.
need to look at it.
Yeah, I
the
just,
fence line, Perimeter Technology's fence line sits 20 feet off of where we're at.
is there grass right here? There's grass in there?
And
Okay.
the parking lot before is literally right up to the
Yeah.
parking lot.
Okay.
So in essence, the parking lot is going to be there, the cars are going to be there already. We're putting a non-combustible cover over the cars, basically.
Just like what you've already built?
Yes, and I've got photos of other structures that we built on location, just so you can kind of see the looks of it.
Yeah, this is a unique situation for this. It's not really, doesn't really fit the ordinance at all, so I move approval.
Second?
Motion and a second to approve item number 4. All those in favor? You're approved.
Appreciate it, guys.
I guess item number 5 was continued, so I guess we're going to...
Item number 6, case number 13416, application for special exception of Claude Hall to allow a child care center located at 9500 North Classen Boulevard.
My name is Claude Hall, and I'm on the property at 9500 North Classen Boulevard, and we're wanting to have a variance made so we can have a daycare center there. We have a need in the neighborhood for one, and that's what we're down here for. That's it.
Any questions?
Nope.
No questions? Do I hear a motion?
It's formerly an old Elks Lodge, so it's always been kind of a center like that.
Move to approve?
Second.
A motion and a second to approve item number 6. All those in favor? Approved.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
He's a smooth talker.
Item number 7, case number 13417, request of ALO Investments for a variance to the required number of parking spaces and to permit parking and maneuvering in the right-of-way to accommodate a banquet hall located at 912 Southeast 44th Street.
Thank you, Kathy. I'm Ron Wynn with Wynn Engineering, and I'm representing the applicant in this case. What we have here is a person that bought a piece of property here at 44th and Southeast 44th and High, and it was a vacant grocery store for about 4 years, and he purchased it with the idea of making a banquet hall in there and providing facilities for weddings and receptions and birthdays, and when he went to get a permit, he was obviously denied because of parking requirements. This being a grocery store, a C3 in a C3 zone, it fit the parking. There was plenty of parking at that time, so didn't have to worry about that. But when it became a banquet hall, it come under the provisions where he was required, one, to provide one parking space for every 50 square feet. If you consider the whole building, 13,800 square feet, he would need about 270 some odd parking places for that type of operation in that building. So what he's agreed to do is cut the building down into smaller sections so that he can just lease a part of that building out, leaving the remainder of the building for just storage and warehousing of tables and other items that might be needed in his party rentals. So there'll be no people occupying the crosshatched space as you see up there, and the open space that's he's going to have for rental is only 4,000 square feet. That's how we got the parking worked out so that it would comply with the parking ordinances. However, in order to do that, as you've seen in the staff report, we have to use some of those spaces in the back of the building, which is accessed off of Southeast 45th Street. Southeast 45th has got a curb cut run on high like it's going to be a regular street. However, it's almost like an alley, and it dead ends just about a block and a half away into an oil well site. It serves one residence down there, so there's not a lot of traffic on that street. So that's one of the things we're asking for, is that we could utilize that city right-of-way for maneuverability, which is the question here, I believe. I think with this layout, we have enough parking places to suffice and make this thing work. But that's not something that's kind of unusual, and I know, we all know that. But we'd like to ask the board to consider it. And also, I have a drawing of that particular site that explains that the crosshatched areas are the areas of the warehouse portion, unoccupied portion. The checkered area is the areas where, like the restrooms and the foyer and that sort of thing, which is not part of the party facility, and then the 4,000 square feet is what you see in white up there. So that's how we've got it partitioned off. And according to the ordinance, then we'll need one parking space for every 50 square feet of that 4,000, plus one parking place for every 100 square feet for the unused area, or what they call the other area in the ordinance. And then the other, we'd like to just ask the board to discount it from the consideration and let us go ahead and operate this type of facility. We'd be willing to put a limit on the number of people that occupies a space. We'd post it and, post the occupancy limit and make that a mandatory requirement for this facility. We're going to permanently put in permanent walls to separate the space so there won't be any encroaching without somebody knowing about it. And if you don't mind, I'll give you another drawing. I mean, I don't want to complicate this before we ever get started here, but I did another layout for the parking arrangement, which may be a little more desirable, gets us about the same number of parking places. Do you mind looking at it as well?
Sure, go ahead and bring it up.
Okay. I laid this parking out dozens of times trying to get this thing to work. Obviously, when this fellow bought this parcel, it's completely paved all the way to the curb, from curb to curb, and so they had parking stripes all the way out to the curb. I've removed those from the right-of-way because that was verboten, and then the only other alternative I had to get the required parking spaces in was to put the parking in the back or on the south side of the building. But you can see in this exhibit marked B, I've done a little different, and we don't really have to maneuver from the street, but we just need approval to put in the driveway accesses along that alleyway, if you would allow me to minimize the use of that thing that way.
So this layout would require installing or changing the driveway configuration. I didn't look at this on site.
You know, I wasn't sure what you got in your packet. I don't think you got the whole drawing, maybe, so.
But right now you can drive into those spots you showed on the original.
No curb, there's no curb there. It's
Right.
just a...
You just drive in there?
asphalt. Yeah, right. You can just drive right in.
Yeah, and they'll have to go to additional expense to do this, right? Put in these driveways?
No, it's all paved. I mean,
You just stripe it or whatever?
I would have to stripe it.
Just stripe it,
I would,
okay.
I think they will require him to stripe it and prepare it, just like we've got the layout there. This building is set vacant for 4 or 5 years, and one of the things I want to address with you, if you don't mind me filibustering here a minute, but the 4 statutory requirements that we need to address was the deficiencies, what the staff listed as deficiencies. I do believe the first deficiency could be satisfied because I believe this is a negative for the neighborhood to have a vacant building sitting there for that long. This gentleman will at least occupy the building and keep it up, clean the parking lot up, and make it so that it's an occupied space. I think that's a plus for the neighborhood, plus for the people who live around there. It reduces vandalism. It should reduce a lot of congregation in the parking lot if it looks like it's a used building. So that's one of the deficiencies I believe that we can satisfy, because I think it would be a benefit to the neighborhood to have it occupied, even as a banquet hall. Now, this fellow's going to operate this mostly in the evenings, like weddings and birthdays and so forth, so.
The only concern I have is the space that you've hashed out, and my concern would be that somebody else, a new owner, comes along and uses that space you're using for storage for other uses, and therefore the parking requirements would change as a result. So I'd be kind of inclined to view this as, for this particular use and purpose, the approval would be given, but limited only to that.
The owner totally understands that. I've gone over this with him dozens of times about the fact that would have to be one of the requirements, so he understands that.
That's your motion?
That's my motion.
Second.
I'm sorry, with the new layout?
Either way.
With the new layout?
How you do it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Didn't make any difference.
Doesn't make any difference.
Okay. Everybody understand that? Okay.
This was a good day. Thank you, guys. I haven't appeared before the board since I don't recognize anybody up here. I recognize Mr. Chambers. Yeah, there you go. And I appreciate your help on it. Thanks for the staff, too.
Betty has enough copies of those.
So you want those back, I guess.
You want these back? Okay. All righty.
Is that it? I hear a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion is second to adjourn. We're adjourned.